Thoughts never spoken, feelings never prices, truth never voiced.
Welcome to the Unspoken Voices Podcast with Chuck Ellis, where the rubber meets the road and the unspoken finds its voice. This is more than a podcast. This is a space for the thoughts you've been holding in, the conversation you've been avoiding, the feelings you've been struggling to explain. It's a platform for honesty, a safe place for courage, and voice for those who haven't found theirs yet. Here we don't run from real life.
We face it.
Whether you're calling in to share your story or listening because you're not ready to speak yet, this platform was built for you. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about
what's really going on. This is the Unspoken Voices Podcast.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everybody. Man, it's been a hectic few moments real quick, but the show must go on. Technical difficulties and other things manageable, so we deal with it how it comes. Tonight we have a very, very interesting conversation. I think that this conversation or the topic is essential. It's one that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's one that affects the population, or affects us as a whole. And it's some elements that are not being addressed directly, and some resources need to be re-established or disseminated to the public. So before I get into the topic, first and foremost, again, I want to welcome everybody for coming on. I appreciate y'all showing up. As always, I want to give a shout out to my sponsors, the Loft Barber and Beauty Shop in Romeoville, Illinois. They're a very welcoming franchise establishment. He's still looking for some more. Want to fill up all the seats. So looking for some more beauticians and barbers. If you're looking for opportunity, a great place to work, come on in or contact Mr. Avery at the Barber and Beauty and the Loft Barber and Beauty in Romeoville. Next up, I definitely want to give another shout out to my other supporters, my other sponsors. Here y'all go. Okay, that's it for y'all. Well, when you come on, you come on. Get on when you get aboard, get aboard. Next up, before I get into the show, I also want to, it's first and foremost, before anything else, I want to thank God for allowing me to be here, allowing you to be here to give us an opportunity. In addition, I'd like to give a acknowledgement. I ain't even gonna say I'm gonna say a prayer. I'm gonna pray. I want to pray for some individuals that are in my life or immediate life that are going through some things. So I now bow my head and ask y'all to bow your head with me. Dear Lord, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to be able to breathe and extend our lives to other people and just we have a welcome on. And more so, there's some people in my life, Lord, that are going through some things. They're going through some changes, some health issues. They're going through things that a lot of people are facing, but no people speak about it. So you ought to know it. You're the all-seer. You can make everything happen through you. We got people that are dealing with taking care of the elderly, where they're facing health conditions, and inevitably, we all must go there, Lord. We must return back to you. But as they start their transition, when they start their life and they start moving towards you, and they're getting out of the body and more into the spirit to be with you, Lord, I want you to get the people that are taking care of them understanding. I want you to be able to give them Give them a sense of encouragement. Give them a sense of strength. Let them know that you are there with them. And also, Lord, you got some people that have some health issues and surgeries and things of that nature. And Lord, I want you to just go ahead and heal them. Help heal them, give them that strength so they can deal with the infirmities that they're dealing with, knowing that all things are possible through you. In mighty Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. And that was a personal note, and that, I have to give a personal note out because there are friends and everything that you have to acknowledge. And sometimes, man, they need a prayer too. Most of the time, they need a prayer. So I extend that. This week has been a long week, but I'm not going to go too far in it. Now, before I bring on one of my guests, I want to say this so we'll understand this. Today's topic is when your past has served its time, but society won't let it go. And before we dig into it, I really want y'all to understand this is not about personal forgiveness. This is a conversation not about excusing crime. This is a conversation not about forgetting the victims. And it's not about pretending every crime is equal. It's about accountability, rehabilitation, redemption, employment, and a true second chance. How a true second chance is supposed to look at life after someone has served their sentence. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on my other esteemed guest, Nadir, and we'll bring him on because we have a lot to talk about, and I want to dive into it. We have both a profound outlook or look on this type of situation. Good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Man, I'm outstanding, and I'm glad that you decided, man, to come on here with me, man, because I think this is a topic, man, that really needs to be addressed as we deal with it. Personal insight, seeing individuals go through it, and some of the challenges we face as we embark upon this. But before that, I want you to go ahead and you all been here before, but still let the people know who you are, let them know what you're doing, so that way we have a better sense of how we're moving into this topic.
So for the audience, my name is Nadir Nasheed. I'm a formerly incarcerated individual who now serves his community through the courts. I facilitate for first responders, justice impact individuals, strengthen families, veterans, all those that feel like they need a helping hand. Many of them don't necessarily have to have major things going on with them, but just like Charles and myself, we was at a point where we needed maybe somebody's consideration, maybe somebody's ear, just some input. So that's who I am today. I'm just pouring back in individuals the same way somebody poured back in me.
I appreciate that introduction, sir. And I have a lot of respect and admiration for what you're doing. It's a lot of things that you're doing in your life that shows your focus, your determination. And with that, it inspires me to be able to do some of the things in my life, and I'm still moving along. And I appreciate that. But now as we get into, I'm gonna say second chance. But before we get into second chance, I'm gonna say for the audience, does a sentence really end when the justice system says it's over? Or can society continue that punishment for the rest of someone's life? And that's a big topic because we have an abundant, overly abundant amount of individuals incarcerated here in the United States. And eventually, their prison term will end. Some it won't. That's just how it is. But when they enter back into society and they pay their debt, court system, Why do you think it is that it appears that they still are having a I would say a hard way to go in dealing with society as far as accessibility to different things, or even being looked at in their former state? You got an input on that one?
So a lot of people may disagree with me, Charles, even some of the listeners, but I'm gonna make this clear. Not everybody deserve a second chance. Not everybody deserve to come home from prison. With that being said, if you don't prepare yourself to return to the community and you're relying 1000% on somebody to save you, then you made your return 9 times as hard as it would have been if you'd have done something while you was in there. What I found out when I returned is the things that I said I wanted to do while I was in, I didn't necessarily do them right away because I misplaced my loyalties in a relationship that I should have done my due diligence on, or shall I say, I should have been mature enough and old enough to accept that role, but I wasn't. That's a whole nother story. But in the space that I'm in, dealing with the courts and the state's attorney office and the judges and the lawyers and these various organizations around the Maryland region, I find that there is a lot of resources out there for individuals that's coming home from prison, and not everybody have to go through the struggles of trying to find them or seize those opportunities.
Okay.
You just have to put yourself in position where A, somebody going to tell you about them, and B, you in position to receive them. Like, there are a lot of things going on in the community that wasn't available for me when I returned in 1996. For example, somebody coming home in our area can go to Georgetown for a year, Georgetown University for a whole year in an entrepreneurial studies program, and they'll pay you. They'll pay you like about $23 an hour to go to school for a whole year. Now, that's just one example of what's available. There are other universities around our area that also have programs for individuals that's coming home. There's a guy, he's a adjunct professor at Howard University. His name is Stanley Andreezy. He's got an organization called P2P. They will take any formerly incarcerated individual and train them for free in whatever studies they want to be involved in. So while it is difficult for some people, and I will admit that, it's not difficult for everybody. It just depends on where you place yourself. If you coming home, like I tell people, first of all, the person that returning home is not the same person that went in. You and I both know that. You either gonna change for the greater of the good, or you not. But those traumas that you experienced while you was in there, it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical trauma. It could have been a mental trauma, like just going to the visiting room and having to undress in front of a man. And that's not, that's not who you are. But you remember those things. So when people celebrating that individual coming home from prison, you're all happy because he or she is coming back. You have no idea what that person had to do to survive in prison. So most people that we return to, our family members, they can't really even help us begin to take off the layers of armor that we developed when we was trying to survive those prison months, those prison days, those prison summers and winters. You gotta put yourself around the right people, man, in order to be able to receive what you feel like you are. I mean, what you feel like you're supposed to receive. And even if you don't know, you got to ask the right people.
And you know, and because we get well, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because I think getting the resources right. But you made a good point coming out. Some people don't deserve to come home. Some people shouldn't be let free. That is, I would say, a moral or a personal opinion, right?
Mhm.
Now, I'm talking about, say, for the individual who served a sentence. I don't care. Say he got 20 years. He did 18 on 20, right? And I mean, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. You know, you got people that are incarcerated for murder. They get out. Rape. They get out. Robbery. They get out. And you got some serious horrendous offenses, and they get out, right?
Mhm.
On one aspect, people say, well, you know what? I could care less what they went through, what their mental state is. I don't even think they should have got up, but now they're out. And this is what the topic is. Now that they are out, has their debt been paid judicially? Because it has. Judicially, it's been paid. They served their time and now they're out. But it's that voice, it's that public opinion, it's that personal opinion saying that I don't care about their them coming out. I don't care about them serving their time. They committed this crime, and we feel as though they should have never came out. So now that they're out, who cares? That's a deep, but it's a personal. I think it's a. Well, I think what has to happen is this. Some people have to establish that society, we're not asking you to forgive. We're not asking you to forget. Now, I'm not even asking you for anything. I'm saying that according to the laws in society and what people wanted to see as a verdict of guilty or the punishment came down by law and said, I did 20 years on it. I came home. But even when I came home, a different individual, new focus, new objective, new thinking. When I go into a room, the first thing they say is, he's a murderer.
So question,
But
how do they know that?
exactly. When I go into the room, and I'm talking about, I go into an employment. This
Okay.
person's employment thing. So now
Okay.
I'm going into employment. Put down there and have a criminal background, right? So they ask you, you know, you got to list your crime. First thing, the interview, they see it. Oh, you've been in jail for murder. You out now. Okay. Now, mind you, and I'm gonna move. And it's a difference between fresh out and 30 years down the line.
Mhm.
Supposedly, because now today I'm almost 30 years out of prison, off my sentence, the whole thing, and still being refused access to certain jobs, access to contracts because of a 30-year-old felony that I paid the price for through the judicial system that I was called upon. That's tough.
Yeah, that's a hard pill to swallow. So you've been out, or your conviction was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I got out in 2008.
Okay. We're in 26.
It's 2026. Now, mind you, between 2008 and now, this is my accomplishment. Youth advocacy. I go and speak into different schools. I'm a published author, business owner. I held contracts with several companies doing installation, driving trucks, going into homes, right? I go into homes installing appliances and things of that nature. So I got through all that, and still can't even drive a bus. And I can't even drive a bus for an organization that has second chance program.
Is that the Chicago law?
It
Because
ain't about it's not even just the law, brother. It's what the paperwork come back and say. I'm gonna tell you what. So okay, so let's say this. I left my company went down. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go do something different. Filled out an application, Chicago, CTA, right? They say, okay, well, you know what, man, it's been 30 years, of your program. But guess what? This is what we need from you. Now, 30 years I've been out. Damn it, 30 years. This is what we need from you. We need statements, character references, letters of support, and a whole entourage of information from outside people, right? For us to even consider hiring you based upon the fact that you have a felony background 30 years ago. Right? That's one application. Another application, I ain't gonna name the facility, but another application I filled out for them. It's a warehouse job, right? Warehouse. Now, mind you, I got years in the military. My experiences, my resume is deeper than a lot of individuals who had college degrees. Okay? But the bottom line is to say you are decisional. We have to make a decision on whether to hire you or not based upon you had a murder felony 30 years ago and you served time. Haven't heard back from them. I assume that's it. They it's been a month now, right? So that just brings me to the question again: is what does paying your debt actually mean?
well, we know what it's supposed to mean,
Okay,
but of course the rules are different and they don't apply to everybody. I'm actually surprised to hear your situation because here I know for a fact, and I assume that CTA is like the MTA in Baltimore, correct?
correct.
CTA, okay. So here in DC and PG, you got Metro, right? I know for a fact Metro has hired hundreds of returning citizens. It's like when you get out of jail, go to Metro.
Right.
And jokers have been working there 20, 25, even after coming home off of doing 16, 17, 20 years. I personally was with a few dudes that went straight over to Metro and got jobs, as well as the DPW here in the area. And I don't know if it's a little more liberal than out there in Chicago, because again, just hearing about your situation, bro, is crazy. If I'm gonna introduce you to a dude when we got time. Right now, did 26 years on a life sentence for murder. He works in the state's attorney office in PG County. The dude that runs RCAD, a returning citizen organization under our current county executive, Aisha Brave Boy, did 30 years in jail for a murder.
Yeah.
It's several people that I personally know that did time for murders that are in jobs that I myself have not even tried to get because that's just not where I'm at. But it's just wild to hear you say that, a warehouse wouldn't allow you to work there because
Yeah, man.
your criminal history.
Yeah. And let's say this.
That's troubling.
It's troubling on different levels. Because like you said, you got individuals who hell, they may have did worse than I've done, right? And are gainfully employed and haven't had that hindrance to their reentry or things like that. But then you have those that face the same obstacles that I face. So is it safe to say that I can't even say there were cracks, it slips through the crack or crack, what is slips through the crack or whatever it is. But what's it safe to say that on the variable onslaught of how it's happening, do you ever pay or has your debt ever been paid, man? Because like we come on, and I'm gonna tell you another prime example. And this is society, but these are people as well. And this is why I say that, you gotta come from forgiveness and debt. It's two different things. When a person comes out of incarceration, it's not, you're not asking to be forgiven. And maybe some people are, but that's not the judicial system. The judicial system doesn't forgive. It just gives you what you're supposed to do and you pay it with your time. You got some prominent figures that have just been released or that came on recently in the past couple of years in Baltimore. High profile people, right? And they doing okay. They reentry back in, they doing programs and things of that nature. But what I've seen is, and I look through different things online and stuff. I see people saying that, you know what, they don't deserve to be out. How can people glorify or get behind a person? Yeah, they're doing good now, but what about what they've done in their past? What about the chaos that they've caused? What about these things? These people don't deserve to have a spotlight, a limelight, or nothing on them to say that they changed their life because of what they did. Now, how does that fit into after spending 30 years, 40 years in prison, and you come home from prison, and society still say that just wasn't enough? And shame on you for wanting to do better, but you're still
Well, Charles, that's just going to be a real reality for people like us that have had to go through that incarceration phase and then return to a society that's supposed to be unjust. I'm sorry, to a society that's supposed to be forgiving, when in fact we know that that's not the case for everybody. Now, for me, I approached it like this when I first came home, or even prior to coming home. I knew that I didn't want nobody telling me what to do no longer. I felt that my record was going to be used against me. I felt that it was going to be difficult for me to find employment. So out the gate, I just got with people that enable me to start my own business. And I've been out literally on the street 28 years outside of going back in for 18 months. But even while I was in the 18 months, my then wife still held down our business.
Okay.
So it's going to be extremely hard for some people, and it's going to be easy for others. It depends on who you surround yourself with when you come home and what it is that you want to do with your time. And if I had the opportunity to prep people before they was leaving prison, jails, or detention center, I would simply tell them that it's not over. Just because you're being released from behind the bars is definitely not over, because you got people out there waiting to crucify you or ridicule you based on what you did. Now, unfortunately, Charles, people like you and I, we have to prove ourselves. We're
Time and
we're
time
gonna have
again.
to continue to prove ourselves that we are not the same person that committed the crime, or we are not as bad as we were when we committed the crime, and you either going you either gonna like me or you not.
And you
Now,
know,
when it comes to applying for jobs, I understand you have to look a certain way, you have to say the right things, but the reality is, if you did 13 years or I did 10 and a half, the same discipline that it took us to get through those days, and you know yourself, there were some days in there that you wanted to leave so bad, you probably would have cried if you could, but you didn't. So I just look at it like, okay, if I got through that, I'm surely gonna get through this out here. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna figure it out without relying on somebody telling me no, I can't have a job.
right. And you know, and speaking on that, I really have to say that, like, yeah, there were days, man. There were days where, like, you wanna break down and shed that last tear, right? And you look back and you reflect upon and say, well, how did I get here? What became of me? And in that instance, you got to accept responsibility for self and action. You know, when I was younger, I could always place and say, well, you know what, my anger came from my upbringing. But at a certain period of time, in the midst of some of the worst conditions that I could ever be in, I had to say, you know what, man, you gotta let that go, because your decisions are your decisions. You know. So you gotta accept everything. And after you accept it, now you got to rebuild the individual. But now, upon rebuilding, right, you got 20 years of good behavior, 20 years of doing everything good. But it cannot outweigh one terrible pivotal, one terrible pivotal point in a person's life. So when society, and I'll say society, or I'll say, us as a whole, when we ask about rehabilitation, right? And I pose this too, and I look for comments and I look for questions, because I definitely look for comments and questions, because this is a panel, this is a discussion that is open, and I want to hear from people, because it's necessary. So my question
Absolutely.
to the viewers and the listeners is: one, a person done committed a crime in life, whether their mental state or whatever it is, or whether you feel as though they should be out or not. As far as rehabilitation, what are you really asking? What is society asking that rehabilitation is supposed to look like? I don't know. Because like you said for us, time and time again, irregardless of what you've been through or how you came out, you still have to continue to prove yourself. So for me, I would even ask myself, as I look at my current situation and where I'm at in life, what is my rehabilitation supposed to look like to the face of those who even know me? That's a good question, because I don't know. And I'm not trying to paint the picture of what it should be. I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to be a better part of me. But as you looked at, people still say, well, he's still that dude. And you know what, to be honest with you, at a certain point, we are still who we used to be. We just don't do the things that we used to do. Not to say that we're not capable of it, because any man is capable of doing anything. But it's about the decision that you choose to make given certain circumstances. So on one hand, society has a point, and on the other hand, it's a pitfall. What you think, sir?
So I see things a little different when it comes to that. We still are the same person we used to be. I think that, and I'm gonna speak for myself.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm definitely not the same person that I used to be. I'm at a point now where I can embrace who I used to be, because who I used to be is helping me become who I want to be without going through the traumas, without going through the triggers, the, like you said, you was mad. You know what I'm saying? You was mad, and you might have had a valid reason for being mad, and then sometimes you just was mad just because you could be mad.
Just because.
So I had the opportunity to really, really strip myself down to a point where I'm just humble. You know what I'm saying? I'm grateful and I'm humble for even still being around, because a lot of people my age aren't. And a lot of people my age didn't go through what I went through, or went to jail and are here. So I say this, Charles. We had to reinvent ourselves,
Right.
and for reasons other people may not never understand why we went through what we went through. But let's be clear. We went through something that probably saved our lives, because you and I would have never met on the platform that we're speaking on for the reasons that we're speaking.
True enough.
I had no idea 30, 40 years ago that I would be advocating for anybody other than myself in the streets. So when I tell people prison saved me, it saved me. It was my college, or it was the beginning of my education, because I didn't take my education seriously when I was in high school. So that person that I used to be, I've embraced, and it's helping me become this person that advocate for other people, to the point now, Charles, and I'm gonna go back to what you was talking about with us having to serve our time and come out in society and feel like we still are serving that sentence. Rarely do I even tell somebody I was incarcerated anymore, because that's not what I have to talk about in order to engage in conversations.
Right.
The only way somebody will know that I was in prison is if I'm facilitating a meeting or I'm doing a speaking engagement. But the speaking engagement has to be around re-entry or something like that. I have so much that I've replaced in my current status that I don't have to tell nobody I've been in prison. You got so much going on in your life now with all of the things that you mentioned and the things that we've talked about, that nobody has to know that Charles went to jail.
Right.
So that's what I lead with, and that's what opened doors for me. I have now the respect from several different entities of law enforcement here. Sheriff, PG County, DC. Um, I got the judges, the attorneys. Like these people talk to me like I never been to prison. But the fact that I have been to prison also opened the door for me because they know that I understand what they don't understand, or I can help them understand the people that's in the streets.
See, and that this now right there is a pivotal point. Okay, this is one of the prime things why we're talking about this conversation. I have associates that are, and I have friends. I ain't say this, I have friends that were in law enforcement. I'm talking about friends that are law enforcement, right? I have people that are in political fields.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't have to tell nobody I've been to prison. I write books. I'm a poet, professional. I go and speak. I don't have to tell them nothing. And then, but if it comes up and somebody, I say, yeah, I did, whatever. And the first thing they say is, man, I would have never known because of your demeanor. You're so happy-go-lucky. You know, there's certain things that you exude, right? But now, for those elements that you are currently in, the courthouse and things, people recognize that they don't say it, but they know. Now, because they know, I still say it's a twofold thing because you've been somewhere where they haven't. You've been to a level that they don't understand.
Correct.
But the underlining part about it is that because they don't understand, you have a place at the table for your insight is information.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So coming and looking at that allows even myself to sit at certain tables, sit in certain group meetings and things of that nature. And I can sit back and evaluate the whole situation based upon my experience that none of them people had. And when they look at you, they won't ask you the question, but in the back of their mind, they be like, man, where did he get this absolute insight from that allows him to be able to address this in a manner in which we would have never been able to see ever if it wasn't for his insight. That's the one up about learning from your past. That's the one up about, and it may get back to the one question we had. What does rehabilitation look like? Is the face of rehabilitation the concept of you sitting at the table?
I would say yes, but I also had to say that it looks different for each individual
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true enough.
because everybody don't need the same when they return. Some people absolutely need mental health assistance. Some
Right.
people just need jobs. Some people need housing and jobs. So for me, the rehabilitation was being able to wake up in the morning and look myself in the mirror and be proud of what I saw. The person that I saw was no longer doing things, even though I was free, I was locked up mentally because I was still trying to play catch up to who I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say to somebody or the audience, rehabilitation is not going to look the same for everybody. Even the person that claims that they offer rehabilitation, because one thing we need to make people clear about, Chuck,
Mm-hmm.
Charles, when you go to jail,
Yeah.
jail don't rehabilitate us.
No, sir.
We
No,
have
sir.
to rehabilitate ourselves, or we have to start attempting to rehabilitate ourselves. Jail just house us.
Yeah.
and will give us the bare minimums. So rehabilitation look different for everybody. You know, it
Yeah.
look different for you than it does for me.
So,
But go ahead.
and when I was thinking about this topic, right, I had to play devil's advocate with myself, especially when I'm talking to the audience. I had to play advocate because we look at people and we say, man, that guy, he committed a murder. That guy committed a rape. One of them may not deserve to ever come home. One of them may deserve a second chance. Right? Now, you know, and I know, because we've been in the system. Sometimes a person selling drugs get a sentence 3 times worse than an individual who committed a sex crime, or I say S crime, a crime against a child, a woman, or anybody else of that nature, right?
Absolutely.
This individual may come home. The drug dealer may get 40, 50 years, right?
Hey, look,
And this
it,
is these are
it,
facts. This ain't nothing we play. You
hey,
know what I
look,
mean?
it's funny. It's funny that you saying that because you told the audience you got 30 years for murder. I got 20 years for drugs and guns. No homicides.
You know what I'm saying? So when you weigh the scale of justice according to society and the actual crime, people look at the impact upon the victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
One is definite, one is subjective. Because you selling drugs, you don't know what the impact is. Commit a murder is definitive.
Right.
Their life can never come back. You can't replace the life that's gone. You commit a bad body charge, one of them charges, you left a mental stain on the individual, and that could impact several people in several lives. But now this guy here, or girl, or whatever, get 18 months. You get 30 years, you get 20. Right? And
Mm-hmm.
what most people say is, well, we want justice for this guy because he did that. He need to go to jail. He go to jail, get 18 months. But the first thing they say is, oh, don't worry about it. When he go there, they going to take care of him in there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's funny.
That's true and some sort of furthest from the truth. Because you and I both know from being behind the wall, some of them guys, right, they more protected in that environment than they are on the street.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? They are more protected. And people think, okay, when you go to jail, you commit something like that, they're going to do the same thing to you. Ain't nobody always on that. Why not? Because
Not at all.
you still got to pay. So if you go in there and say, oh, I want retribution for everybody who did something that I don't particularly care about what you did, you still got to pay the penalty for your retribution. But yeah, in society, they say, well, let them go in there and they deal with them. But then when those people that dealt with that type of, with those people that are in there now, that were dealing with these situations behind the wall, and now they come home, you don't reward them. You don't say, oh man, you handle your business in there. You did that, right? You got that show. You how you ruled the band, right?
Right.
All you say is, you know what, man? Well, what's different about you now? I'm like, damn, did I just tell you I handle my business for y'all out here? But when I come home, I'm still looked at like, you know what I mean? This is what I'm supposed to be.
Right. Right.
Hmm. That's a little see because that's a perplexing reality to incarceration, you know. And don't get it twisted. Everybody that come out don't come out right.
No, sir.
Some people come out horrible, and they didn't even go in horrible.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I meant by when I said, people get excited about somebody coming home. I'm gonna give you an example. So I'm in the reentry court. A dude had did 40, 40 years, and he had a S crime,
Okay.
and the court was packed with his previous friends that he had did time with that had came home, his family members, and they couldn't find the victim family. And he's coming back because he wants a second chance. But while he's in, he's getting incident reports. He admitted to the therapist that he using K2 while he locked up. The judge is looking at him like, why are you here?
Uh-huh.
You have not learned anything while you was in there. So when I said some people don't deserve getting a second chance,
Yeah.
that is an example of who I'm talking about, because I can only imagine, I could be wrong, but I can only imagine that if you can't do the right things while you in jail,
Hmm.
and you had a crime against a person, then
Right.
why should you come out? Well, I mean, what you gonna do out here? You ain't even
Yeah.
preparing yourself for society. What you plan on doing is coming out here and committing another crime on somebody else, and or don't get it twisted, America. There are a lot of dudes that come home when they get here, they've done ample years in jail. When they come out here, they can't take the pressure and they wind up committing suicide. Suicide is high amongst individuals who have served a lot of time in prison, and when they get out here, they can't handle being back in society.
No, they can't. Well, some people go back just to go back because they can't handle it.
I had a homeboy tell me that one day. Yo, I'm going back in. It's better in there than it is out here. And I'm looking at him like, really? I didn't
Yeah.
get that ammo. But okay, you know what I'm saying? If I can't convince you to stay out, then and he wound up getting killed anyway. You know what I'm saying? But here's what I want to leave. I want to leave, and I know we probably getting close to time,
Yeah.
but for yourself, for myself, for anybody, I want the viewers to understand that the day we committed that crime is not necessarily the day that things start unraveling in our lives, because we're dealing with unresolved traumas. We're going through triggers. We carrying a lot of weight and emotion from our youth. We're condemning, a lot of us condemn the people that attempted to raise us because they impacted our lives in a negative way. Well, I've had time to examine all of that. And now I look at it like, you know what? My parents only gave me what they was armed with.
Hmm.
They couldn't give me no more than what they understood how to give me based on what they was given. So I no longer hold them credible for who I became or the traumas that I was dealing with, or the vicious domestic cycle that I watched when I was coming up, which gave me the theory that I didn't want to be locked down with one woman, or I didn't want to get married, and ultimately went into a situation that I ain't know how to handle. And I'm saying this to say that you can't condemn a person for one incident that may have been transpiring many, many years prior to that even happening.
Mm.
And when we get to a point where society can wrap their mind around that theory, then I believe that rehabilitation and what we initially started talking about, you coming home and being able to get any job that you feel that you qualify for, then at that point it'll start happening. But more than likely, it's never gonna happen because you always have people that's in control of the pen or the computer or the decision that just don't even understand what you and I have gone through until they hit with it themselves.
Hey, you know what, man? You couldn't have said that better. And yeah, let me tell you, and for the viewers, I really want people to understand, man. This is real talk. We're not trying to. I'm not trying to be 100% politically correct, in certain criteria, but we just scratched the surface. I really think we scratched the surface of some of this type of conversation that's actually needed because I think people have a misconception of the two elements that we're currently talking about. One we're talking about behind the wall, and one we're talking about outside of it. I think we have a duality in the expectation of what justice is supposed to look like versus what justice is, and a definitive viewpoint upon rehabilitation based upon individual, I would say individual motives, individual lives. Every individual has different lives, so their rehabilitation will look extremely different. Some to those who know them, and some to those who don't. I have a friend, I just spoke to him a week ago, and his rehabilitation, because I know him, is immaculate. Now, some people look at him because they don't know him and be like, man, this man got it all going on. And on both sense, I'm good because he's living a new life and in a new perspective. But in the viewpoint, some people say he's looking that way, and I would say, you know what? I'm glad he rehabilitated. And either way, he's doing good, and I appreciate him for who he is and what he's doing with himself. But even for those who chose and are doing okay after coming out, don't look down upon those who are not doing okay. Because your path is your path based upon your realization and how you chose to deal with it. And just because you dealt with it a certain way, don't mean everybody has the mental capacity to be able to deal with their life in such a way that it's all going to turn out good. It's going to be some serious struggles. There's going to be people who have dealt with addiction that's going to have to keep dealing with addiction. Some will pass, some will fail, some will rise, and some will fall. But it's not us.
Sure.
It's not upon us to judge, and everything we don't even really have to fully understand. All I can say is, man, that man's going through a struggle. Now, my personal view on different struggles is my personal view. Some things is not acceptable to me. That's my view. Some things are just absolutely not acceptable. And if you struggle with one of those acceptable things, yeah, maybe you don't deserve to be free. You don't deserve to be walking these streets and enacting these type of acts upon people. No. There's no excuse, and I'm not playing, and I'm not making excuses for people's actions. So for victim advocates and people who have been victims of individuals who have committed crimes, murders, S crimes, robbery, things like that. I'm not making an excuse for nobody who has victimized you, who has victimized somebody in your family. 'Cause I have people in my family that have been killed by individuals that are free. You know, and in different circumstances and different thoughts, maybe that thought will be different. But everybody understand that you have to live with the consequences of your action and accept that. If you're willing to accept the consequences of your action, knowing that you did them prior to and or after, then you got to live with that. And you can't expect society to be able to forget or forgive. But some of us that are just doing things, we still want to live. We want to live prosperous lives and not be held down by red tape as to what the past held. So as we move forward, man, I want to say, hey, it's always an honor. It's always a pleasure to have you aboard. And man, we're gonna have plenty more to do because we're doing plenty more things.
Absolutely, bro. And I'm sorry that we couldn't connect when I was out in Chicago a few weeks ago, but I understand.
Man, jeez, man, look, this is my first time to get with you.
Hey, look, I was out there with my folks, man, and it was nonstop moving, and where we was at, we was downtown, and you said you was like about an hour away, right?
Yeah.
So, but we be back out there because her travel group, they be everywhere. We be back out there.
Well, we're gonna figure it out, man. We're gonna
The
figure it
next
out.
time you come back up to Baltimore, we'll definitely catch up.
For sure. Hey, bro,
Or,
appreciate you
or,
coming on,
or,
man.
or you put something together out there, man, so we could be on the same platform or something like that. We gotta make something happen, bro. For real.
You know what? Let's put it in play. Well, I can do, you know what? So the audience know I'm getting ready to drop my book, right?
Okay.
And when I'm gonna come to Baltimore, and I'm actually gonna try to orchestrate a book signing in Baltimore.
Bad.
So
Just let me know.
maybe we can do something like that, and if we can put it all together, we might go live out there on the platform, do the book signing, had a whole demonstration, and let's figure it out like that.
That's what's up. That's what's
All right,
up.
appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, appreciate you.
All right.
So now, man, that was a very interesting conversation. It's not over. It's not done. I think we still have a lot to address, a lot to talk about. So I may do a part 2 or may do a follow-up to this topic. I want to inform y'all that next week we have Flamon Williams coming up. We'll be still going into the African history segment of the Unspoken Voices podcast. The following week, on the 13th, we have the one and only Chelsea Smith. She's going to be addressing mental health, our mental health segment, and the topic for her will be the strong ones get tired too. I think I would love everybody to tune in for that. In the meantime, like I said, going out, I am in the process of publishing my next book. My book is called Manifested Fruition. I will be announcing it really soon of the publishing date. I appreciate everybody's support. Appreciate everybody for hanging in there, for staying with us for this time. It was a very interesting conversation. And hey, if you have something that you want to talk about, inbox me. If you want to comment on this topic, if you feel as though you want to address the topic, inbox me. I have no problem with addressing anything that we spoke about and talking on it, and we can come on and have a great conversation. I want to give a shout out to my man, Mr. Brian Kruger. Man, I thank you. I appreciate your support. You and I, we're gonna connect. We're gonna talk some more about art and mental health. I don't think we finished the whole topic, and I have a few more things coming up lined up. But like I said, I just want to make sure that everybody know that next week we have Flamon Williams coming on for African history and traditions, and the week after we have Chelsea Smith coming on to address mental health. The strong ones get tired too. So that's me. That's Chuck Ellis signing out the Unspoken Voices Podcast. I love you. Continue to support. Thank you for tuning in. And hey, stay blessed.
This has been the Unspoken Voices Podcast with Chuck Ellis, where silence is broken, truth is spoken, and healing begins. So remember, your voice matters, your pain has purpose, and your story deserves to be heard.
So until next time,
Stay connected,
stay encouraged.
and know that your voice is never alone.